ललिता ललिता श्री ललिता 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 ओम ललिता 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 जय ललिता 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 जगन्माता भुवनेश्वरी राजराजेश्वरी श्रींकारेश्वरी श्री त्रिपुरेश्वरी विश्वरूपिणी काली भवानी विश्वरूपिणी काली भवानी परंज्योति परमेष्टि ब्रह्माणी ललिता ललिता श्री ललिता 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 ओम ललिता 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 जय ललिता 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 जगन्माता शांकरि श्रीकरि शांभवी वाणी परब्रह्म की तुम प्रिय रानी विश्वमात जगद्धात्री विरागिणी विश्वमात जगद्धात्री विरागिणी अखिलांडेश्वर की अर्धांगिनी ललिता ललिता श्री ललिता 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 ओम ललिता 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 जय ललिता 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 जगन्माता ललिता ललिता जगन्माता 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 प्रेम से आओ गुरुदेव प्रेम से आओ गुरुदेव हृदय मंदिर में सदा रहो हृदय मंदिर में सदा रहो प्रेम से आओ श्रवण में आओ नारायण श्रवण में आओ नारायण नारायण हरि नारायण नारायण हरि नारायण नारायण वेद पारायण नारायण वेद पारायण प्रेम से आओ मनन में आओ नारायण मनन में आओ नारायण 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 श्रीमन्नारायण नारायण सूर्य नारायण नारायण सूर्य नारायण प्रेम से आओ गुरुदेव मंदिर में सदा रहो, हृदय मंदिर में सदा रहो, प्रेम से आओ गुरुदेव।
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। वन्दे शङ्कर गुरुदेवा वन्दे शङ्कर गुरुदेवा। पावन चरणा तोरे करुणा ज्ञानामृतपूर्णा पावन चरणा तोरे करुणा ज्ञानामृतपूर्णा वन्दे शङ्कर गुरुदेवा वन्दे शङ्कर गुरुदेवा वन्दे शङ्कर गुरुदेवा। नित्यनिरञ्जन सत्यस्वरूपा प्रत्यगात्मने आनन्दरूपा नित्यनिरञ्जन सत्यस्वरूपा प्रत्यगात्मने आनन्दरूपा नीडे घनज्ञानाबोधा नीडे घनज्ञानाबोधा ಬೇಡುವೆ ನಿನ್ನೋಳು ಶಂಕರ ಬೇಡುವೆ ನಿನ್ನೋಳು ಶಂಕರ ವಂದೇ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರುದೇವ ವಂದೇ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರುದೇವ ಆತ್ಮಸ್ವರೂಪವ ಬೋಧಿಸಿಯನ್ನ ಮುಕ್ತ ಮಾಡು ನೀ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುದೇವ ಆತ್ಮಸ್ವರೂಪವ ಬೋಧಿಸಿಯನ್ನ ಮುಕ್ತ ಮಾಡು ನೀ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುದೇವ. ನಾರಾಯಣ ಪಥದ ಬೋಧ, ನಾರಾಯಣ ಪಥದ ಬೋಧ, ಬೇಡುವೆ ನಿನ್ನೋಳು ಶಂಕರ, ಬೇಡುವೆ ನಿನ್ನೋಳು ಶಂಕರ. ವಂದೇ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರುದೇವ, ವಂದೇ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರುದೇವ, ವಂದೇ ಶಂಕರ ಗುರುದೇವ. बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. Prostrations to one and all. So we were discussing the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The chapter begins with Bhagavan describing the Guru Parampara, saying this knowledge of the self has been given by him to Vivaswan, Vivaswan to Manu, Manu to Ikshvaku. So over a period of time, this flow of knowledge through Guru Parampara, this Jnana Parampara somewhere dried up, somewhere got stopped. So therefore Arjuna, in order to revive this knowledge, I am giving this knowledge to you. I am giving this to you because you are my devotee, you are my friend. So therefore this greatest knowledge I am giving to you. So then Arjuna had a question. Arjuna asked Bhagavan, you said that you gave this knowledge to Surya Bhagavan, but as far as I know, Surya Bhagavan was there from the very beginning of creation. You are born only recently. How am I to understand that you gave this knowledge to Surya Bhagavan? So this question becomes a seed. This question becomes the reason, the cause for Bhagavan to reveal the Avatara Rahasya. So Bhagavan said, Arjuna, very many births, both of us, we have already passed through. Those past births you don't know, but I know it. There is a huge difference between you and me. I am the Lord of the universe, Bhutanam Ishvaraha. I don't have any birth or death, but keeping the Maya under my control, keeping the Prakriti under my control, with the help of Maya, I manifest myself. So yesterday we were seeing the difference between Jiva and Ishvara. So differences are mainly 3 from the 3 standpoints: Karana Bheda, Swarupa Bheda and Uddesha Bheda. Jiva is born because of what? What is the Karana? What is the difference with respect to cause? Jiva is born because of ignorance, whereas Bhagavan takes avatar out of knowledge, out of compassion. And what is the difference between Jiva and Ishvara? What is the Swarupa Bheda? Difference with respect to nature. Jiva is Maya Dasa, whereas Bhagavan is Maya Pati. And what is the difference with respect to purpose? Jiva is born to exhaust his karma, to fulfill his desires, to evolve spiritually, whereas Bhagavan comes for dharma samsthapana. So this topic we were discussing yesterday. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tada atmanam srijamyaham. Arjuna, whenever there is a glani, there is a decline in dharma and increase in adharma, then I manifest myself. And what do? Paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect the virtuous people. Vinashaya cha dushkritam, to destroy the wicked people. And thus dharma samsthapanarthaya, in order to establish dharma, yuge yuge sambhavami, in all yugas I am born. Now we will have to understand these two verses in depth. So today we will discuss these two verses in detail. Now, these verses can be seen from the samashti level and also from the vyashti level. These verses can be seen from the cosmic level and also at the individual level. So first we will see the meaning of these verses at the individual level, at the subjective level. This vision will help us in self-reformation. Right. So now what does it mean? Yada yada dharmasya glanir bhavati, adharmasya abhyutthanam bhavati, tada aham atmanam srijami. Whenever there is a decline of dharma and increase of adharma, I manifest myself. Now, what does it mean at the subjective level? Whenever we entertain a negative thought, a selfish thought, a self-centered thought, an unrighteous thought, whenever we entertain a negative thought in our mind, at that time we have to understand there is adharmasya abhyutthanam, there is an increase of adharma. Whenever we entertain a negative thought, a selfish thought, understand adharma is increasing us and dharma is decreasing. Now, this is the subjective analysis. What happens when we entertain a negative thought? Then and there mind is disturbed. The moment we entertain a negative thought, our mind is disturbed. You cannot say, no, I will entertain a negative thought and still I will have my mind at peace. It is impossible. The mind is disturbed the moment wrong understanding passes through our mind. This disturbance of the mind is a pain. This disturbance of the mind is a voice from the Lord. It is the voice of conscience. This voice of God is what is called as avatar of the Lord, subjectively speaking. So we can say as though the Lord has descended in order to correct us, in order to guide us, in order to warn us, in order to protect us the moment we entertain a negative thought. So how do we experience the presence of God? How do we experience the descendants of God? Experience of the presence of God is experienced as the disturbance of mind. The moment negative thought is entertained, mind is disturbed. This disturbance has to be understood as Bhagavan's avatar in us in order to protect us, in order to guide us. Why this negative thought is dangerous? This negative thought is dangerous because if this negative thought goes unchecked, if we don't put an end to this negative thought, this negative thought will multiply itself and this thought momentum will express itself as negative words in the outer world, as negative actions in the outer world. These negative speech and negative actions will in turn attract towards us a negative environment, and in a negative, unconducive environment, what will happen to us? We will only suffer. Suffering will be the end result. Pain will be the end result. Every negative action will have a negative reaction. So therefore, when I perform a negative action, not only that I suffer, I make everybody else around me suffer. I am giving suffering to the cosmos. The cosmic forces in turn will create a unconducive environment where the suffering comes back to me. As you sow, so shall you reap. This is the law. So therefore, the root cause of every suffering is the negative thought. So the moment I entertain negative thought, that very same moment I experience a pain in my heart due to the disturbance of mind. This disturbance of mind has to be understood as avatar of the Lord. This is a subjective analysis of this verse. Now, when does this avatar take place? It doesn't take place yuge yuge. It takes place kshane kshane. Every moment Bhagavan is guiding us. Every moment. So therefore, this inner voice is there guiding us every moment. So therefore, this avatar doesn't happen yuge yuge. Yuge yuge happens as far as the cosmic functioning is concerned, but as far as the subjective functioning is concerned, Bhagavan's avatar takes place kshane kshane, moment to moment. And what is the purpose of this avatar? Dharma samsthapanarthaya. So here, at the individual context, dharma has to be understood as peace of mind. So in order to correct us, in order to bring us back to the path of peace and harmony, this avatar takes place. So Bhagavan, we are all children of Bhagavan. So every moment Bhagavan is guiding us through the voice of conscience. So therefore, we must always listen to this voice of conscience. Whatever we do, Bhagavan is guiding us. So we must listen to this guidance. And this guidance comes in the form of pain when we take to the path of adharma, unrighteousness. This pain is a very interesting mechanism. The moment the pain comes either in the body or the mind, our attention gets diverted to the point of pain. You cannot escape paying attention to pain. The moment there is a pain, your mind gets gravitated towards the point of pain, whether it is physical or mental. Suppose there is a toothache, one part of the mind is arrested there. Suppose there is a headache, one part of the mind. How much ever busy a person you may be, a part of the mind becomes busy worrying about the point of pain, the cause of pain, and always thinking about how to come out of that pain. It is a warning signal. It is a red alert. It is alerting you that something is not right. That is the meaning of pain. Pain means something is not right. So therefore, pain attracts immediate attention, serious attention. So you are busy in the outer world, you withdraw your mind from everything else and start paying attention to the point of pain, and you start thinking about how you can get rid of this pain. That's the purpose of pain. Whether it is physical or whether it is at the mind level. So therefore, the moment I entertain a negative thought, immediately mind is disturbed. This disturbance has to be considered as an avatar of God. This is the voice of God. So immediately we must correct ourselves. The more and more we are evolved in the path of spirituality, the more and more this disturbance will be intensely suffocating. The conscience prick is intense. The guilt feeling is intense. The disturbance of the mind is intense. The pain is intense. The more and more we evolve spiritually, the more and more we are nearer to God. So when more and more we are nearer to God, we are able to listen to the voice of God. We are able to understand clearly the guidance of God. The more and more we are spiritually evolved, we are nearer to God. God considers us as His own. So what happens? The pain also is intense when we deviate from the path of righteousness. It is exactly like when our children commit mistake, we give them properly, we scold them, we beat them. But when a neighbor's child is committing the mistake, we don't have much right, we leave them. We forgive them, we leave them, we don't punish them. A neighbor's children creating problem, we don't punish them. But our own children doing some mistake, we scold them, beat them. So there is a difference. In the same way, the more and more we evolve spiritually, we are becoming God's own children. So therefore, what happens? The moment we deviate from the path of righteousness, the mind becomes extremely disturbed. This is one way of measuring our progress in spirituality. When we deviate from the path of spirituality, when we deviate from the path of righteousness, to what extent are we disturbed? The intensity of disturbance is a measure of spiritual progress. A non-spiritual person is insensitive, he doesn't bother about this voice of conscience. So therefore, he appears comfortable even when he is doing an unrighteous thing. This is the sign of a non-spiritual person. But what about a sign of a spiritual person? A spiritual person, even when he thinks about something negative, unrighteous, forget about doing it. Even when he thinks about doing something wrong, that very same moment the mind is disturbed. Disturbance of the mind is pain, and this pain helplessly makes him look within, because pain attracts attention. Intense pain attracts immediate attention, serious attention. So the mind is extremely disturbed, he looks within, he introspects, and he finds that, mind is entertaining a negative thought. Mind is entertaining a thought related to kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada or matsarya, whatever it may be. So he comes to know, and immediately what does he do? He understands Bhagavan is warning me. Beware, a negative thought is there. If you are not alert, this negative thought will become negative speech, negative action, and it will attract only pain and suffering for yourself and for others. Beware. This is the meaning of that pain in the heart. So what does he do? Immediately, a true spiritual seeker, he corrects his wrong understanding with right understanding. The negative thoughts are replaced by positive thoughts. The negative thoughts are substituted with positive thoughts. The wrong thinking, the wrong understanding is substituted with right understanding. Then what happens? Since I am giving up the negative thoughts and I am taking up the positive thoughts in me become stronger and stronger. And the negative thoughts in me, the negative traits in me, the vicious vices in me becomes weaker and weaker. This is the meaning paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. The good in me becomes stronger and stronger. The bad in me becomes weaker and weaker. So therefore, what happens? The mind becomes purer and purer. In such a pure mind, there is peace. Dharmasya samsthapana happens. Peace gets established. Samsthapana means getting established. Peace gets established in such a heart where the good rules over the bad. So in such a peaceful mind, in such a pure mind, what happens to the individual? The individual becomes fit to receive self-knowledge, because the necessary condition for self-knowledge is a peaceful mind, is a pure mind, is a virtuous mind. This is the necessary condition for self-knowledge. So, in such a heart, a peaceful heart, self-knowledge dawns. And what happens when a person gains self-knowledge? He is liberated from birth-death cycle. He is liberated from all sufferings. So, what is the purpose of avatar? As far as the individual is concerned, the purpose of avatar is only one: transform the wicked person into a good person. The purpose of avatar is it helps us become virtuous and it helps us gain self-knowledge, and this avatar helps us become liberated from birth-death cycle. This is the subjective explanation of these two verses. So what is avatar subjectively? It is nothing but the voice of conscience. It is the voice of Lord which guides us, protects us, warns us, inspires us to walk the path of righteousness, and finally this voice of conscience take us to liberation. This is the way these two verses have to be understood. This is the explanation from Vyashti level, from the individual level, from the subjective level. Now we will see the explanation of this verse from the cosmic level, Samashti level. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati aham atmanam srijami. So, the most superficial meaning is dharmasya glani means the decline in peace and harmony at the cosmic level. So, Bhagavan says, whenever the peace and harmony, the law and order of the creation is a danger, when there is a decline of peace and harmony, then I manifest myself. This is what Bhagavan says. Now let us analyze. We all want peace and harmony in the society, in this world. Now, what is the basis for peace and harmony? What is the basis of peace and harmony? When we analyze, we find that peace and harmony in the society depend upon the virtues of the individual. When the people living in the society lead a virtuous life, lead a life based on value system, then there is peace and harmony in the world. So therefore we can say peace and harmony depends on the virtues practiced by people. Whether at the individual level or the family level or the cosmic level or the national level, at all levels we find when the individuals are virtuous, there is peace and harmony. Take for example a family. When all the individuals, they are living a virtuous life, living a life of sacrifice, living a life of humility, living a life of service, living a life of cooperation, being straightforward, loving, compassionate, forgiving. When every member of the family, when they practice these noble virtues of life, there is peace and harmony in the family. So the same thing must be applied for the totality also. So when the individuals, they live a noble life following the virtues of life, then there is peace and harmony. So therefore we can say peace and harmony depend upon the virtues, the noble virtues. Now the next question is, these virtues, from where does it come from? What is the basis for these values of life? What is the basis? How do we know that these are virtues? So we find that these noble virtues come from the vision of oneness. How can we say that? I find that whatever I like, others also like, and whatever I don't like, I find that others also dislike. For example, I don't like others harming me physically. This I find in myself. I don't want others to harm me physically. I don't like it. So therefore, I must also not harm others physically. So from this observation, I learn the value of non-violence. What I like, others also like. What I don't like, others also don't like. There is a similarity, there is a oneness with respect to feeling in us. When I commit mistake, I expect others to forgive me. In the same way, when others commit mistake, I must forgive them. So from this, I learned the value of forgiveness. I don't want others to be egoistic. I want others to be humble. So therefore, I must also be humble and egoless. So I learned the value of humility. I want others to be straightforward and honest and truthful to me. So therefore, I must also be truthful to others. So from this, I learned the value of honesty, of truthfulness. So in this way, I understand that whatever I like, others also like. Whatever I dislike, others also dislike. So there is a oneness. So from this vision of oneness, all the virtues are formed. Now the question is, what is the basis for the vision of oneness? How can we say that we are all one? Because at the body level, we are not one, we know it. At the emotional level, intellectual level, we are not one. We have different ways of thinking and behaving. So at the BMI level, body, mind, intellect level, we are all different. Then in what way we are one? So then comes a spiritual knowledge which says the self in us is one. The consciousness in us is one. We are basically consciousness with a BMI. So we are all one because we are all none other than consciousness. So the vision of oneness comes from this knowledge of the self, this spiritual knowledge that we are none other than consciousness. Now see how the definition of dharma varies as we go deeper and deeper. So at the superficial level, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati means there the meaning of dharma is peace and harmony in the society. But little more deeper we go, we come to know this peace and harmony depends on the virtues of life. So then virtues of life become the meaning of dharma. What is dharma? Virtues of life. So when we say he is a dharmic person, so what does it mean? That person is a virtuous person. When we say dharmo rakshati rakshitaha is a famous quote. The protector of the dharma, the follower of the dharma is protected by dharma. So there what is the meaning of dharma? Dharma means virtues of life. A person who practices virtues, the values of life, he is protected by the very same virtues. That's what the meaning is. So there the meaning of dharma is virtues. But then these virtues come from the vision of oneness. This vision of oneness comes from the knowledge of the self. So what is the root meaning of dharma? We'll find the meaning of dharma is, what is dharma? One's own nature. Dharma means the nature of a thing without which it has no existence. This is the meaning of dharma. So dharma of a thing means what? The nature of a thing without which it has no existence. For example, dharma of fire is heat, dharma of sugar is sweetness. So in this way, what is our dharma? What is that in us without which we have no existence? So we find dharma of us is Satchidananda Atma. Our dharma is consciousness, which is existence, consciousness, bliss. That is our true nature. See how the meaning of dharma changes as we start thinking deeper and deeper. So the root meaning of dharma is the self, the consciousness in us. Because dharma means the nature of the thing and our nature is consciousness. Our nature is Atma Tattvam, the self. Now you see the importance of self-knowledge. So when a person has self-knowledge, he comes to know that he is consciousness and he is not the body, mind, intellect. So when he sees himself as consciousness, what does he see in others? He sees in others also the very same consciousness functioning through a different BMI. So he knows, I am consciousness with this BMI, that person is also consciousness with another BMI, that person is also consciousness. So everywhere it is the same consciousness which is functioning in different equipments in different BMIs. So therefore, the knowledge of the self gives the vision of oneness. And this vision of oneness leads to love, because wherever there is vision of oneness, there has to be love, there has to be cooperation, there has to be all the virtues of life. So knowledge of the self gives us the vision of oneness. Vision of oneness gives us all virtues. Virtues become spontaneous and effortless wherever there is vision of oneness. And now when I start practicing all these virtues of life, there is peace and harmony. So therefore, if the Lord has to establish peace and harmony in the society, in the cosmos, what should He do? Spiritual knowledge, the self-knowledge is directly connected to the peace and harmony in the cosmos. So therefore, if the Lord has to do dharma samsthapana, if the Lord has to establish peace and harmony, there is only one way. He will have to encourage spiritual knowledge. He will have to encourage self-knowledge. There is no other way. He will have to inspire people in practicing spirituality. So this is the meaning paritranaya sadhuna. Protecting the sadhus. Who is a sadhu? Sadhu means a good-hearted person. But how do you have good heart? You will have good heart only when you practice spirituality, when you practice the self-knowledge. So sadhu means a seeker of self-knowledge. So if there has to be peace and harmony, there has to be more people who are practicing spirituality. When more and more people practice true spirituality, then there is more and more peace and harmony. So what will Bhagavan have to do? He will have to increase the number of spiritual people and decrease the number of non-spiritual people. Vinashaya cha dushkratam should also happen. Now the question is, how can you decrease the number of non-spiritual people or the wicked people? Remember, a person is wicked only because of the ignorance of the self. A wicked person is a self-centered person, a selfish person. Why has he become selfish? He has become selfish because in his wrong understanding he thinks he is the body. Because of his ignorance of the self, he doesn't know that he is none other than consciousness. He doesn't know. He misunderstands himself to be the body. And because of this ignorance, all the vices he practices. So all the vices, all the negative traits are only because of the ignorance of the self. He has become wicked because of the ignorance of the self. So how can you destroy the wickedness in a wicked person? You can destroy the wickedness in a wicked person by giving him the knowledge of the self. Once he gains self-knowledge, that person is transformed. He becomes a virtuous person. So when a wicked person is transformed into a virtuous person, you have literally killed the wicked person, isn't it? Now this is the meaning vinashaya cha dushkrita. When you destroy the wickedness in a wicked person and when you transform that wicked person into a virtuous person, you have destroyed the wicked person. So the destruction of wicked person has to be done through self-knowledge. So when a non-spiritual person becomes a spiritual person, you have destroyed the non-spiritual person. This is the best way, through right knowledge. So right knowledge or the self-knowledge or the spiritual knowledge is the way to destroy a wicked person. But suppose that person doesn't listen. Suppose that person is not available for spiritual knowledge. He doesn't listen to you. Then Sama, Dana, Bheda, if those methods don't work, the final method is Danda, punishment. The final method is capital punishment. To eliminate that person by killing that person. That is the final method. So Vinashaya cha dushkritam doesn't always mean killing. First, we will have to try to transform the person through right knowledge. Only when that person is not available for right knowledge, only then we should award him the capital punishment of death. And this is what happens in Mahabharata war also. Bhagavan Sri Krishna tried all means to avoid a war. He tried all means to have a peaceful solution, but when it did not work, finally the war became inevitable, and in this war all the wicked people were destroyed. So dharma samsthapana has to be done this way. So the point is, it is this self-knowledge, it is this spiritual knowledge which actually brings peace and harmony in the society. What is the proof that my knowledge is right? This also has to be understood. What is the proof that my spiritual knowledge is the right knowledge? The proof is, I am in peace within and I am in harmony without. So inside I experience peace, outside with the cosmos I experience harmony. This is the proof that my spiritual knowledge is the right one. This point has to be mentioned because unfortunately it is in the name of spiritual knowledge that maximum violence is happening in this world. We find so many terrorists. Unfortunately, these terrorists are also waging their war in the name of spirituality. So according to them, their scripture alone is a right scripture. Their God alone is a right God. Their religion alone is a right religion. So everybody must be transformed into that religion. And therefore, what do? They become suicide bombers. Now, what is it that they do? What is the spiritual knowledge in them taking them to? So you will find that these people are totally restless and disturbed within, and they become suicide bombers. They kill everyone. So what is the end result of their spiritual knowledge? The end result is there is violence, there is destruction, there is devastation, there is unrest, there is peacelessness, you see. Now, can you call this spiritual knowledge as the right knowledge? No. Because the necessary condition for spiritual knowledge is that spiritual knowledge should give you peace, and that spiritual knowledge must express as harmonious living with the cosmos. This is the sign that our spiritual knowledge is a true knowledge. Unfortunately, in the name of spirituality, there is only violence that is happening nowadays. There are terrorists in every religion. There are Hindu terrorists, there are Muslim terrorists, there are Christian terrorists, all kinds of terrorists are there. Who is a terrorist? Spiritual terrorist is a one who has not understood spirituality properly. What is true spiritual knowledge? True spiritual knowledge is self-knowledge. What is the end result of self-knowledge? Self-knowledge makes you love everyone as yourself. Self-knowledge must give you the vision of oneness. Self-knowledge must bring peace and harmony in the world. Only then we can say we have the true spiritual knowledge. So, because this spiritual knowledge has so much of blessing, so the spiritual knowledge at the individual level, it makes a person virtuous. This spiritual knowledge makes a person virtuous and finally liberates the person from the birth-death cycle. This at the individual level. And this spiritual knowledge in turn brings peace and harmony in the entire world. So there is a win-win situation. At the individual level, this person becomes virtuous and he becomes liberated from all suffering. And because of his spirituality, there is peace and harmony in the whole world. So there is a win-win situation. This is the ultimate thing that we all can do as human beings. This is the best thing that can happen to the mankind. And when mankind brings peace and harmony, there is peace and harmony at all levels, whether it is animal kingdom, bird kingdom, every kingdom becomes peaceful when human beings are peaceful. You see, human beings being the crest and crown of creation. So the one good thing that can happen in this world is when everyone becomes spiritual, when everyone turns to spiritual knowledge. So therefore, if Bhagavan has to establish peace and harmony, what he should do? He should revive spiritual knowledge. He should revive self-knowledge. He must encourage spiritual knowledge in the society. This is what he has to do. And that's what he does. When he does, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. Now, if you see the history of this world, we find that great many avatars have come now and then, again and again. So when avatar comes, Bhagavan comes with a specific goal. The basic goal is one, the basic purpose is one, to establish peace and harmony and to inspire the people to walk the path of spirituality and thus liberate people from this birth-death cycle. This is the purpose of the Lord when he takes avatar. Now, if you see some of the avatars of the past, we will find that this sequence is always followed. Whenever an avatar has come, he has revived spiritual knowledge. This we will always find. For example, say Vedavyasa Rishi. What did he do? He is supposed to be the Amshavatar of Bhagavan. So what did this Rishi do? So at that time, the knowledge of the Vedas were getting lost. So therefore, Vedavyasa Rishi, which is Vishala Buddhi. In our prayer we say, Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhi. So Bhagavan took that avatar. So what did Vyasa Rishi do? He compiled all the Vedas and thus saved the Vedic knowledge from destruction. He compiled all the Vedas. The Vedas were divided into 4, Rig, Yajus, Sama, Atharva. Then he wrote Mahabharata also. The essence of the Vedas were put in story form. 18 Puranas were written, Mahabharata was written, Brahma Sutra was given, composed. This was the contribution of Vyasa Rishi. But over a period of time, the Vedic knowledge was misinterpreted, wrongly understood. At that time, the animal sacrifice became very predominant, mentioned in the Vedas. There was so much of killing. At that time, the avatara of Buddha came, the compassionate one. Now there is another avatar. And what did this avatar do? The killing, the violence was put an end. So Bhagavan came to give the message of love and compassion through the avatar of Buddha. Then over a period of time, there were a lot of conflicts. It was said that around 70 different schools of Buddhism, they were fighting amongst each other, saying that our philosophy alone is right. So there was a lot of confusion, a wrong understanding regarding the purpose of life, goal of life. It was at that time that Bhagavan Shankaracharya came. So he wrote commentaries on Upanishads, on Bhagavad Gita, etc. and thus gave a clear understanding of the Vedic knowledge. What is the knowledge mentioned in the Vedas? What should be the purpose of life? What is the ultimate spiritual goal mentioned in the Vedas? And what is the path leading to that goal? So commentaries were written, because of which that clarity came regarding what is Veda. Because all the misinterpretation, wrong interpretation just vanished, and Bhagavan Shankaracharya with that avatar gave a clear understanding about the spiritual goal. This was the purpose of the avatar of Bhagavan Shankaracharya. He established Advaita Vedanta. Aham Brahmasmi. The purpose of Veda is I am Brahman, to know this great reality. But later on, what happened? People got stuck up there. They started becoming egoistic, saying Aham Brahmasmi. It was not taken in the right spirit. They got stuck up in the path of spirituality because they started with Aham Brahmasmi. So then another avatar was needed, that is the avatar of, say, Madhvacharya. He said, don't start with Soham, start with Dasoham. So he brought in Dvaita philosophy. What is Dvaita? Oh Bhagavan, you are everything, I am nothing. Learn to bow down to God. Practice Dasoham. Don't start with Soham, then it will not work. You will be stuck up in spirituality. That is not the way. Don't say that the whole world is Maya. No, there is a purpose for this world. The purpose is to become humble, to become egoless, and therefore practice Dasoham, and over a period of time when the mind becomes pure, you will experience Soham. This was the avatara uddesha of Madhvacharya. But later, slowly as the time passed by, this language Sanskrit became irrelevant. English became the prominent language, the language of the masses. The ritualistic way of living became obsolete. So in the modern times, the generation was educated. The kind of education given to the modern generation was to question everything, ask why for everything, to seek a logical, rational explanation for everything that is happening in the society. So the new generation was trained to think logically. The new generation was trained to question everything. The new generation was trained to see the cause and effect of everything, to reason everything. This was the new education given to the new generation. So therefore, the old methods of teaching did not work. So therefore, a new avatar was needed who could reinterpret the scriptures in their language, in their ways of thinking. So therefore, Puja Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda was born, who could explain the message of these scriptures in English, in a logical way, in a convincing way, so that the generation is inspired to live the spiritual way of living. So therefore, we consider Puja Gurudev also as an avatar of the Lord. So you will always find that as the society changes, the needs of the society also changes. So therefore, we need an avatar to again and again come and reinterpret the scriptures in such a way that the knowledge of the scriptures are available, the knowledge is available, fulfilling the needs of the changing society. So this is what avatar does. So what is the purpose of avatar of the Lord? Any avatar inspires the people to lead a spiritual life. Any avatar inspires the mankind to walk the path of righteousness. Avatar inspires the mankind to walk the path shown by the scriptures, to gain self-knowledge, to cultivate virtues in life, and finally to get liberated. This inspiration comes from all avatars. And in the process, there is peace and harmony in the cosmos. So in all the avatars, this is the common thing that we find. So Bhagavan says, Sambhavami yuge. In every yuga, as the society changes, the changing society needs a reinterpretation of the scriptures. The knowledge doesn't change, but the interpretation of the scriptures need a change. Bhagavan says, every time when such a requirement is there, I manifest myself to help the generation move towards spirituality, because spiritual knowledge is the only solution for all problems in life. So this topic comes to an end here. Now Bhagavan takes up the new topic, the topic of self-knowledge, that we will see tomorrow. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Krishna, Jaya Govinda Krishna, Deva Deva Dina Pala Govinda Krishna, Devaki Vasudeva Bala Govinda Krishna, Jaya Govinda Krishna. Govinda Krishna, Shakatatvam Sadevya Pada Govinda Krishna, Shankha Chakra Gadadhara Shri Govinda Krishna, Jaya Govinda Krishna. Shri Govinda Krishna, Jaya Govinda Krishna, Deva Deva Dina Pala Govinda Krishna. Padmanabha Govinda Krishna, Pankajaksha Padmanabha शरणं गोविन्द कृष्ण जय गोविन्द कृष्ण पादकमलं शरणं शरणं गोविन्द कृष्ण जय गोविन्द कृष्ण देव देव दीनपाल गोविन्द कृष्ण देवकी वसुदेव बाल गोविन्द कृष्ण जय गोविन्द कृष्ण जय गोविन्द कृष्ण जय गोविन्द